All right, guys, welcome to our special edition of the I-5 Sports Ride, where we're going to be covering the Seattle Mariners season. And today we got a special guest. Peter, you want to do a quick introduction real quick?
Yeah, for sure, guys. My name is Peter Feltis. I'm a sophomore at Washington State University. I run the Mariners.Center Instagram page, which is I believe it's the most followed Mariners fan page on Instagram. I started that I think it was September of 2015, and I've carried it all the way up until now. Just not quite as active, but definitely still trying to pump out quality content and just connect with the Mariners community. So, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and I threw that screenshot up for you guys there. Definitely go give him a follow. He definitely I've been following it for like 2 or 3 years now. It's definitely one of the best Mariner pages I've followed on Instagram, and he stays up to date on everything. So if you're a Mariner fan, definitely go give that a follow.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, boys. So I think today's episode is just pretty much all Mariners. We really just want to recap the season, gave us a couple of weeks to kind of digest everything that happened. It was a weird season. You guys got any first thoughts on it at all?
I mean, I would say it was a success all in all. Like 27-33. That's just 6 games under 500. We were actually within, I believe, 2 games of the Astros on the last day of the season, which is amazing progress considering 2020 was supposed to be a stepping stone year, which it was. But just to be that close at the end of the season was special, and being able to have some of the younger guys taste that almost postseason chase atmosphere, that was really useful.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of the stepping stone season, I think like you said, it was a stepping stone, but it was a massive stepping stone. Like, it wasn't a normal step. It was awesome to see. We were right there in the race at the end of the game, and it really makes it exciting too, because we weren't even to our full potential. Like, originally when people talked about this being a stepping stone season or even that rebuild season or whatever, like, we still had a lot of the pieces completely healthy in those aspects. We didn't get to see Mitch Haniger at all this year, and he's supposed to be back. They did come out. Dipoto came out and said that he's supposed to be ready to roll by spring training, so we really hope that that's the case. But we were without Haniger. Tom Murphy goes down early. A lot of just injuries of good stints on the team throughout the whole thing. And like you said, we still come within 2 games of the wild card. Well, the second wild card is a little bit different this year, but still, it would have been great to be able to go and pass the Astros up for that. But just to be in that hunt in general was just awesome. And I think it was Service that came out and talked about it. For them, it would have been awesome to have fans in the stands. Like, I think fans in the stadiums with them and being able to rock Seattle and get a couple sellouts there at the end of the year and all that kind of stuff, might have made a little bit of a difference. But just to see it in general and to see how well we performed without the expectations, I really see, and without some of the people who may or may not have should have come up or stayed down or whatever, it's really exciting to see going forward.
Yeah, and coming in, Dipoto said that he wanted to start competing by 2021, and it kind of feels like we're right there for next year to be competing for a playoff spot.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's super exciting too to hear the off-season mindset, because in my eyes, do you know how many one-run games we lost or leads that we blew at the end of the game that could have made the difference coming down the line at the end of the year? So I'm really excited to hear that we're going to focus really big on getting like 3 or 4 quality arms in the back end of our bullpen that we can just really heavily lean on and rely to. I thought our young guys really pitched well, but they were just so inexperienced, and we just had a couple gaps here and there that I think 2, 3, maybe 4 really reliable, proven arms at the back end could really help out in big situations and help grab those games that we kind of dropped.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. If you look at the remaining 4 teams in the playoffs right now, they all have really strong bullpens, with the exception maybe being the Astros. But they've used guys like Christian Javier and Framber Valdez to kind of eat up those innings. So it's a huge step in a rebuilding team, is developing those bullpen arms, finding those hidden gems. I would say Austin Adams was one of those gems that we found at the end of last season, but we ended up using him to get another relief arm, which was really nice. So just finding those arms, getting those guys developed, and then obviously having a ton of money to spend on the free agent market for a guy like maybe Liam Hendricks is really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a huge acquisition.
That'd be huge, yeah. And who do we acquire from the Padres again? The reliever, what was his name again?
We got
Was
What
it?
was his name? I want to say Gerardo Reyes, but that was the other Padres reliever that went to the Red Sox, I believe.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about, and the name's slipping my mind
Because
right now, too.
he had Tommy John surgery this year, like the beginning of this year, correct?
Yeah, he was supposed
Yeah.
to sit out. It was in the
Andres
offseason.
Munoz.
Munoz,
There you
yeah,
go,
that's
yep.
right, yeah.
101, 102 fastball with the wicked slider, so that'll be exciting.
Huge. Yeah, that's gonna be a big.
Kind of maybe like an Edwin Diaz type come up in the future. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
And speaking of that trade, I think that really was a thing that stood out for me really well in this season too. I'm super excited about all the pieces we got back from that trade. I know getting rid of Osanola, definitely a fan favorite, and was definitely performing really well and an awesome story to get behind. But I think Tom Murphy's going to be extremely solid behind the plate, and we bring in Luis Torrens, who I thought looked really good behind the plate and at the plate for the rest of the year. But you bring in a top 100 prospect in Taylor Trammell. You end up getting Ty France too.
That's a big get. Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
hasn't been
I love
talked
Ty
about,
France.
But
Yeah.
I love Ty France. I thought he played great. And they've been talking about, obviously, we love Seager, and Seager performed great this year. Like I thought it was a bounce back season for sure for Seager, but he's limited. Like he's getting up there in age. We've got to start looking for. They always talk about this prospect team basically that we have. Our outfield is obviously filled. Like we're ready to go. Kind of more along the lines, I think, of Dylan Moore starting to take over maybe that second base spot. But
Yeah.
obviously he doesn't have a super long future with us either because he's 28.
29. Yeah.
But you get a guy like Ty France that's coming in, and they're talking about him possibly being that guy at third base because I feel like in our farm system, that's the piece that we've always missed. We've had people that have come in like Joe Rizzo. Oh man, it's slipping my mind. There was another one.
DJ Peterson maybe.
Yeah, DJ Peterson. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
That just really haven't panned out, but like Ty France is already doing it at that level, and I think he's going to be just solid enough over there at third.
I think going in next year, you're going to probably have Ty France starting out as a DH, and then with Dylan Moore second and Kyle Seager third. But the free agent class after 2021 is pretty stacked with third basemen. I at least saw Chris Bryant. I think there were a couple other ones too.
There's Bryant, Javi Baez,
Yeah.
and then at short you got Lindor and Story. I think Story's gonna hit the marks. I'm not too sure on that. The Rockies might want to hold on to him, but there's definitely a lot of left side of the infield options available.
Yeah, you can throw any of those guys at third too. I feel like they'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Oh man, bringing the Javi Baez swag to Seattle would be so sweet.
I don't know if he would come to
That'd be
Seattle.
Well, he won't, but it would be cool. We could just dream about it.
I think
Cano came
yeah.
to Seattle. So
That's true.
You never know.
That is a very good.
I think KB might be a guy you can get pretty cheap too because he hasn't been as good, and if he kind of still like is kind of banged up next year and not playing up to the level he can, I think he's a guy you could probably get for a decent deal. I feel like.
I agree with you there. I think KB's the best of those options. I
Yeah.
feel like his personality, like his vibe, kind of fits Seattle the best as well. Like Javi, I think he's gonna want to stay in like a, I mean, not that Seattle's in a big city, but a city kind of like LA.
A larger market, yeah,
And
yeah.
Lindor is not gonna want to stay in like a small market. He probably wants to make it big, and then Story's probably gonna stay in Colorado. So I think Bryant's probably the best option there, especially considering he had a horrible year. He had like 4 RBIs up to like the second to last day of the season, and then all of his rates were way down. His exit velos, his
Yeah,
hard hit rate, like all of that was looking like really poor towards the end of the year. So hopefully he can bounce back a little bit.
and I don't think this is a year you should really look too much into the stats because it takes a lot of guys a couple months to get going sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we saw with Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich batted 203 this year. He was not going to bat 203 the whole year. And we're seeing with the Astros too. The Astros are finally starting to get hot, and they weren't going to be a 29 and 31 team all year. You know, those like Springer and Altuve, they were going to start hitting like they normally do, and we're starting to see that in the playoffs too.
Yeah, I think the shutdown of spring training, because a lot of people talk about how they didn't get spring training. They did get, what was it, like 2-3 weeks? I think they got rolling a little bit.
Yeah, the
Summer
summer
camp,
camp,
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, not much at all. But then they, like you guys said, the summer camp that they get to get rolling back into it, that big break of not seeing real live pitching, competitive live pitching, not being with a team and working on all that kind of stuff, that really throws a wrench in everything. And it's actually really interesting. I know Dak Prescott came out and talked about it, and Kevin Love have come out and talked about it, but the mental aspect of things like that too for a professional player, it's really tough on that. I mean, your whole life is built around being this professional athlete and being with your team and all that stuff, and then your season kind of gets ripped away from you. A lot of people really didn't handle that well, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but I remember reading an article from one of the MLB players that specifically talked about that time frame, and they were like, I hardly worked out because I just couldn't find motivation because I was just so he was basically in depression and couldn't get himself going. And I think a lot of people really suffered from that, trying to find that motivation because you don't know if your season's being played or not or whatever it's going to be. And so I think it took a toll on a lot of people during the season and during their stats and all that kind of stuff. And man, Christian Yelich really shot me in the foot with that #1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I should have gone
You
Mike
didn't pick Trout.
No, I see. I've got a thing for Yelich, and it did not.
I mean, fantasy baseball only comes down to if you pay attention to it every day and pick up pitchers. So that's pretty much all it is. What you did, yeah. You end up losing. You end up losing, right?
Dynasty.
It's just single. Yeah, single. Yeah. We should have done a dynasty league, but I don't think we don't have enough people who pay attention though.
I have a pretty sweet dynasty league going if you guys want to join it, because like I think we already have all the owners, but some of the guys aren't too active, so we could definitely look for new owners.
I think we're both so down.
Oh,
That'd be
sure.
sick. Yeah, because that's our problem.
Yeah.
That's our problem. With fantasy baseball is you gotta find people who will like pay attention to it all year. It's so much different than fantasy football. So
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love it, but everyone
Yeah.
complains about it, but I just love the daily check.
oh, me yeah.
Yes.
No.
I check fantasy football daily, anyways. Like I check
Me
between
too.
on like Tuesday and Wednesday, and I check again, and I'm literally telling myself, "What are you looking for? Like you're gonna get a notification if somebody's out or whatever."
Yeah.
But I'll go check the free agents. Like, did somebody drop anybody or like
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we have to talk about Kyle Lewis a little bit in this a little bit, right? So really hot to start off, but he batted 153 in September, guys. Should we be a little concerned of that, or what are we feeling?
I think there is right to be concerned, because anyone can have a really hot 30 game stretch like he
Mhm.
had. Like obviously it's not just a random guy coming out and flashing he was hitting 350 with a 600 slugging. So you don't see that every day per se, and you know that he has the abilities, but just that prolonged stretch at the end of the year was just so painful to watch, and it didn't seem like he was making any adjustments, and he would hit the occasional home run every week or so, and you'd think he was going to break out of that, and he still has a beautiful swing, but I don't know, it's just chasing the off-speed pitches, and then he wasn't really adjusting to the high and in fastballs. Like they were talking about that on some of the broadcasts.
Mhm.
So the defense was definitely still there, but it's definitely worrisome, because like I said, anyone can have a hot stretch. Like Jared Walsh on the Angels had an incredible stretch at the end of the
Yeah.
year, but it doesn't
Yeah, he
seem like
did.
it's sustainable. So I definitely think it's something you worry about, but at the same time, Kyle Lewis has preached how he attacks the mental part of the game, the mental aspect, and he reads a lot of books about just keeping even keel, not really freaking out when you get into a slump. So I think he would have broken out of that slump. The season just ended at the wrong time for him, because he was really, really cold at the end of the year. But I think that he has a strong mental state, and I think he'll be able to break out of it. I don't think he'll be that 950 OPS guy, but I think he'll be a solid, I know this is a comp that's used a lot, but a solid Adam Jones type.
Yeah. That's a great comp, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you there. I'm so high on Kyle Lewis. I love Kyle Lewis, but
I do too.
realistically speaking, I think that his numbers were just so ludicrous when he got up, especially even just that stretch that he came up in September of last season,
Mhm.
and then like you said, the beginning of start this season. Anybody can get hot. We saw that from a lot of different people in the league. They got hot either because they feasted on bad pitching because they weren't ready or whatever it was. Like the Dubon kid from San Francisco, just kind of a no-name coming into it, and then all of a sudden they just break out and they get hot for a 60-game season. You can really do that, but with Kyle Lewis, at least it's not like a no-name that came out of nowhere. He's proven it. He should be that guy. He's coming back from that massive traumatic leg injury, and so it's nice to see that happening. But I think that with him, I almost want to say maybe it was a little bit too much of a push at the end. I think that he didn't, not that you ever write yourself out or write your team out, but I don't think he really expected to be in that situation. Nobody on the team really expected to be in that situation of a playoff push at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Because when your GM tells you that you're not really going to, you play hard, but and so I think that there was a lot of trying to force things to happen. He was that guy for the whole first part of the season, and I think it got to him a little bit. Like you said, he was chasing pitches at the end of the season that he was not chasing at the beginning of the season. He was having phenomenal ABs, had really good vision on stuff, and then started to really chase a lot of stuff and didn't make a whole lot of adjustments. So I'm really hoping that we can chalk it up to just too hard of a push at the end of the season when things were on the line. But I think he's going to be a really solid middle of the order hitter for us for things to come. And if our prospects do what they're supposed to do when they come up with their bats, he's not going to have to worry about having a lot of pressure on his shoulders with the 4 spot, because that 4 spot could go to a number of any of our prospects that are supposed to be coming up, including Trammell if he starts to outswing people. But I mean, I really think it's a toss-up between Julio and Kelenic if their bats develop and continue to stay hot like they are, of who's going to be the 3-4 kind of thing. So Lewis is going to be able to sit back and be like a 5-6 guy and be incredible in that spot kind of thing.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that it's weird to think of Kyle Lewis still as a rookie, because he's been in our system for so long. And you have to remember that too. So I think he would, like you said, he definitely would have gotten out through that slump and been fine towards the end of the year. It just sucks that he kind of has to finish the year on that. So hopefully, it seems like he does have the character to kind of get through it through the off season and work through it, make adjustments, and get back to what he was doing at the beginning of the year.
Definitely.
But he still should be the rookie of the year.
For sure.
Right? Yeah.
I think he'll win it pretty easily.
Yeah.
And
Robert kind of fell off at the end of the year too.
He fell off too.
Yeah.
And that was really his biggest thing.
That's the thing. We can't forget these guys are rookies. They are rookies. They're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
We saw Mike Trout batted like 220s rookie year. Like
Yeah.
I think one of the most exciting things of Kyle Lewis this season for me though is watching how well he played the outfield.
yeah.
Before the season started, it was a no-brainer that Kelenic's coming up and he's our center fielder of the future, so Lewis will probably go to right field or figure out which side he's going to go to and all that stuff. But he's really giving Kelenic a run for the money. I mean, some of those ridiculous plays and arm strength that he was showing off and everything, that's going to be pretty. But I mean, I don't know, because Kelenic's supposed to be this absolute like God-given talent in the outfield too. And supposedly he was making plays in the what was the name of the team that they had?
Summer camp.
The player pool team or whatever.
When they're playing at Cheney.
Yeah, the one playing at Cheney all the time.
Yeah,
like
the
supposedly.
alternate.
Yeah, the alternate.
The training
There you
site.
go.
Yep.
Supposedly he was making plays like crazy there too. So I mean, that's a really good problem to have. Which one do we play there? They can even swap all the time on this thing. But.
He also seems mad. Like he seems like he's like wants to be up here. Because I don't know. Did you guys see when he tweeted the shaking my head thing? Yeah. Do you think that was like kind of some direction towards Jerry or what?
Friction.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of friction there, but I don't. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, because if you look at the guys that got called up this year, with the exception of like Brian Hayes, but a lot of the guys that got called up this year really struggled a lot because they didn't have. It was just not an ordinary season. They didn't have enough time to like get used to pitching, and a lot of the guys that got called up straight from Double A or straight from High A just did not do very well. So I think Jerry's definitely playing the right cards of keeping him down, but Kelenic's kind of he's arrogant, but it's a good arrogance.
Yeah,
so it's like he has so much confidence in himself that he thinks it was a bad decision to keep him down, but the reality is it was the right move.
And I love it when him and Julio are tweeting things like future champs or something. Like I love when I see that on my feed, because you can just sense that they're happy to be here, and they sense that something special is coming up forward.
They're just so bought in. Yeah, they're bought in.
They're bought in. Yeah.
I don't see it being a thing of like he would hold a grudge or like be upset about it and all that stuff. But he's the dude that's gonna bet on himself every single time. Like you could put him in any situation, even if he's not experienced in it, and he's gonna bet on himself. Like that's the dude that I want on the field for me.
Yeah. So I think Julio is going to probably be either a September call up or 2022 call up. But Kelenic, do you guys see him starting on opening day next year, or what do you think?
I think they could roll with a little, just have him make the opening day roster, and then give him that like Evan White type extension, like right off the bat.
Okay.
I'm not too sure. I don't think Kelenic would take kindly to being
the 2 week thing. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I think you give him the respect. You have him make the opening day roster, and then you try to work out a deal that buys out like his first or maybe second arbitration year, so you get that security there. Maybe some club options if he doesn't come through. But I don't know. I I don't really feel comfortable with manipulating his service time. I don't think
Mhm.
he's the player you mess with. Like
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
once in like a generation type prospect, so you don't really want to mess around with that.
You want to keep him happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially like you talked about, we've already given one to Evan, and I thought that was the right call for sure.
I
Especially,
agree.
I thought that he played extremely well. Stats don't always tell the whole story,
Not at
and he
all.
still finished with decent stats, especially for a rookie. But his bat on ball percentage and his exit velocity off of it, and his hard hit balls and barrel finds, all that kind of stuff, and his first play, like his play at first base, is unreal. And so, after already giving a contract out like that to a prospect who is rated much lower than Kellenic is, I think that you have to follow up and you have to give it to him and give him the respect he deserves. I know that they've talked about being really slow with him and maybe not being on the opening day roster. I would love to see him on the opening day roster, and I think to speak on the Julio part, I think he comes up at least halfway through the year if he doesn't break his hand this year.
Yeah. Don't be diving in practice anymore, I guess.
Right.
And also, we have such a gaping hole in left field right now. He's by far our best option there. I'm so sick of playing infielders in the outfield. It's time to get
Irvin.
yeah, or Philip Irvin, yeah. But like throwing Tim Lopes or Dylan Moore out there, like they're fine, like they're good utility players, but they are not starting MLB left fielders, or Marmoleos even. Sam Haggerty, yeah. But I want an actual outfielder out there. I feel like Kellenic has to be that guy, unless we sign maybe a veteran just to come up to fill that spot for a little bit. But
yeah, I just want to, this next season, I want to see a little bit more consistency in the lineup.
Or even I think the spring training is going to be huge too, because if like Taylor Trammell has a big spring, he can easily be thrown in that opening day lineup at left field.
Yeah,
I think you could also sign I don't know if Corey Dickerson's a free agent, but that's kind of just the name that comes to mind. Like someone like that to a 1-year deal that is gonna hit, they're gonna stay healthy, they're gonna play okay defense in left field, like maybe on like a 1 year $4 to $5 million deal.
Yeah.
You're gonna get an average OPS, average out there, and at any time you can DFA them and call up one of our prospects if you need to, or maybe trade them and get a little bit.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
That's what kind of pushes me towards them doing that. We saw that so many times in the past there's been so many times that we've signed somebody in the offseason and basically almost said, we're trading you halfway through, so play well. Kind of like an Encarnacion, a Jay Bruce, all that kind of stuff. I could totally see us, a Corey Dickerson is a really good name to throw out there and see if we can grab him, let him play, and produce like he's going to always for half the season. Trade him off, maybe get another prospect or whatever it is, some international cash because we do well with that stuff. So, I mean, Julio looks really well. And then bring a guy up halfway through the season. I would love to see that too.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I'm excited.
And then so pitching wise, what are we looking at for the rotation next year? You think who's got the spot locked down? Who might lose that spot to a free agent? Maybe. What do you think on that?
I think if they work a 6-man rotation again, which Travis said they're likely
They're going to, yeah.
I mean, Marco's obviously the ace. Justice has that spot locked down. I think Kikuchi and Dunn have spots locked down. Dunn wasn't amazing this year, neither was Kikuchi, but Kikuchi had really good peripherals. I know his fastball velo jumped up a lot. He was touching 99 at times, and if Kikuchi, this is going to be his make or break year because I think he has a club option.
He does, yeah, after this year.
So if he can't harness his stuff this year, they might have to cut ties with him. But if Kikuchi can find the strike zone consistently, he's going to be an absolute force. So I think you give him the chance in the rotation. I think you give Dunn the chance as well, even though his peripherals were pretty awful. I know it's fielding independent pitching, which is I don't know. Do you guys know the formula for that? It's just expected stuff. So
yeah, I saw that Kikuchi's was really good though.
Yeah, Kikuchi's expected stats were amazing.
Yeah,
which is why I'm a little bit more confident in him.
Than Dunn. Yeah,
I think if he can harness his stuff, then he'll be good. And then
Dunn's problem is walks. That's the thing. Yeah.
His fastball wasn't actually very hittable last year. It was just the walks was the problem.
Yeah.
And I think you also give Margavicius a shot in the rotation.
Absolutely.
I liked what I saw from Margavicius last year, and then I think the last spot in the 6-man could go to Logan Gilbert, or maybe we sign a guy, maybe we bring Draven back on the club option. But I kind of like Draven out of the bullpen.
I was even thinking Taiwan Walker, maybe bring him back because he pitched
would be
good.
nice
He
to
pitched
do.
good, great in Toronto, didn't he? Yeah,
He
Solid.
had a great ERA, but his FIP, like his peripherals, were pretty bad. So
Okay.
I don't know if they want to. I would love to bring him back again on like a 1 year,
1 year deal.
2 year
Yeah,
deal worth like $3 million a year, but he might want more than that. I'm not sure.
yeah.
He
Yeah,
does love
for sure.
Seattle though.
Definitely. Yeah, I could definitely see him coming back. I'm all with you on the Markavich thing. I loved him from the second he started throwing. And it was almost kind of like we have a group chat with a couple of our buddies and we are like, oh, look at, and like some of them were like, who is this guy? Like, this was just one of the other M's that were in the bullpen and all that stuff. And it's crazy because one of them was like, well, how old is he? 28 or what is he? 23?
He's
think it's
very young.
He's young.
Yeah,
He's
I
young.
mean,
23,
He's
24.
young as can be, and he's the classic case of the Padres pushed him up way too early, and he struggled right off the bat, and they didn't see him bouncing out of those struggles, and we hone him in and we figure things out with him, and he comes and shows the stuff that he originally was drafted with. I mean, it's really exciting to see that out of it. I'm with you on definitely Marco and Sheffield have locked down for sure. Kikuchi, I'm still like I would talk to them all the time that I thought that this was his make it or break it year and he's got to prove it, or we go and move on. But I think that he showed just enough to be able to stick with it and see if he can really, really figure it out, because he had flashes like crazy. I mean, if we could just be able to extend those flashes, he looked really good on the mound on these points, and then all of a sudden it's like these wheels fall off. But like we talked about before, there was not a whole lot of preparation going into the season. So and as much as you want to say it shouldn't make a difference, fans being in the stands or fans not being in the stands makes a total difference on the adrenaline level, the motivation, the drive, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to chalk it up to a little bit of both of that, and hope that helps out. Justin Dunn, if he can get his walk numbers down, I think is going to be great. But I still am really a big fan of shifting him over to the bullpen, especially with a lot of the arms that we have coming up. I mean, you got Logan Gilbert, like you talked about, Emerson Hancock that we've talked about before, George Kirby, Juan Then, they're even really excited about still. There's a lot of young arms down there that are supposed to develop really well, and we've seen already start to develop on track and on pace with what they're talking about. So
guys like Brandon Williamson, Isaiah Campbell, Sam Carlson too. Those guys are exciting.
We know that Dipoto loves drafting college pitchers, so they're all down there ready to go whenever, and that's good. You want pitching depth, like we've had those years when. I think what was it 2 years ago when we had how many people start pitching? Like
we set the record. Or
it was like over 20 something,
like 25.
So
something.
we know if anyone knows, it's Mariner fans that you can never have enough pitching.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I would love to see Graveman come back. I mean, he looked phenomenal before, and then he gets the benign tumor in his neck, which is like really like we can't catch a break at all.
Yeah.
He can't catch a break. He comes off of Tommy John and looks just as good as he did before it, in his prime too. And then I thought he looked really good out of the bullpen, but I saw an article and they were talking about they just might not want to pull the trigger to get a bullpen guy who's not a proven bullpen guy. But I just don't see him asking for a ton of money after having the injury like he did again this year, I guess if you could call it condition. And so I think that we could get him back for really cheap. And like you talked about, he could be a bullpen guy, and then he can also be in that fill-in role. If somebody gets hurt, needs to skip a start, whatever it is, like he'll be just fine out of the bullpen.
Do you guys see us maybe making a run at Bauer at all, or?
I know he loves his like driveline sports, and that's originated in Seattle or based in Seattle. So he's also talked to guys like he gave Kikuchi some advice before a start last year. I remember on like breaking pitches. Like I don't know if it was like I think it was his curveball. So there are some ties there. I don't really see Bauer. Bauer said he's only signing 1 year deals, I think. So I don't really see him.
Okay.
I don't really see him signing a 1 year deal with a team that probably won't make the playoffs. But I think definitely in 2022, prior to the season, I think a 1 year deal would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember he came out and said that he's basically going to go year to year, wants to come out and prove it all and then get more money and then get more money and get more money. And if you follow his Twitter account, he hasn't interacted with us yet. So that makes it a little bit bummer. But I totally see him not necessarily trophy chasing, but trophy chasing. Like he wants to be with a team that's going to compete this year because he's in his mindset. I'm only going to be with him really for a year. I'm going to help develop some people because they talked about in Cincinnati. He actually was a really good mentor for a lot of different people. And he was a really good mentor in Cleveland when he was there. And Clevenger and him are really good friends still and talk back and forth. So I can see him really going somewhere where almost like a White Sox situation. Like, that they have a really good chance of making the playoffs, but they can be developed even more. Kind of going being that guy that could push him up and over the hump. With us, I just don't see him coming here because it is just a question mark on if we're going to compete or contend next year, and we're just so young.
Maybe San Diego too, to reconnect with Clevenger, and then they could use that extra arm to push them up the top. So I like the White Sox and the Padres for next year.
Yeah, I would love to see him. Slam Diego. Oh, they're exciting. They're exciting.
The Sox are going to be exciting to watch too.
Definitely.
Like both
got,
those teams.
Did you see that they can Renteria?
Yeah. So I was actually
that was a necessity.
I was going to bring that up next. So do you guys see maybe like after next year us canning Service and trying to get a more proven manager and experienced manager for the playoffs, like our playoff push?
I think Dipoto's gonna ride it out with Service. I think he's building good relationships with these players. Like he hasn't won yet. I mean, he won in 2018, but nothing came of that. So
yeah.
I think he rides it out with Service for at least a couple more years, just because of the relationships he's built. He's building a really strong culture too. I think these guys are all really hungry to win. Like you see it in the majors, see it with like guys like Kyle Lewis, like I don't know, like Dylan Moore, guys like that, and they all seem to be enjoying playing here. I know Ty France is going to contribute to that, and then obviously like we were talking about earlier, like Julio and Kelenic, they just seem so hungry to win. So I think Service has facilitated a really good winning culture, and I think you give them at least like I would say 2 more years.
Yeah, I think they are fully ready to go and ride with Service and see what they can get out of him. I think it's more of a situation of you got to let him develop with this team that you've kind of built around him. Not saying they were always like, hey, you'd be a really good fit for Service, but they really want to see what he's going to do with this culture and this young talent that's coming up. And I think that obviously, like every coach and every manager and everything, there's been some questionable decisions. I've yelled at the TV and thrown stuff multiple times at decisions. But I really think that he was trying to have a different kind of strategy and everything for this weird season. It was a 60-game season, see if we can ride people out. Arms weren't ready as much as they normally are, so we have to go to the bullpen early, try and go with the long relief thing. A lot of different weird situations. So I think that definitely next year is a really good prove-it year for him. We're supposed to have good talent. We do have good talent, especially if we make those off-season additions that they're talking about and bolster our bullpen and have that really going. I think next year is going to be a really good prove-it year, and I still got some faith in him. Like I really think that he can do it. I thought he did really well with the teams before we started to rebuild and everything. We just obviously didn't get over that hump, but I think that we were still just missing a couple pieces here and there with those teams even. And I really want to see what he's going to do with the young talent, because I've heard wonders, and especially like when Brooks and I are in the park too, like you can just tell the vibe and the culture that the team has to about it. Service just makes it so easy for them to go out there and play and enjoy playing. So
yeah,
I love it. But yeah, I saw on ESPN too that on the bottom bar they said that Renteria was out and that there was no timetable for a new coach, but they made sure to mention that Ozzie Guillen was not a candidate. Like, the only team that I've ever seen. These people are not being considered.
It looks like it's gonna be Cora. It's gonna be Cora or Hinch. That's what it's looking like. Yeah. The two. Yeah.
Bring your trash can.
Because the either I think their GM said they wanted someone with like a championship pedigree.
Yeah, and I get.
And who else is there? It's only the only two. Those are the only two I can think of. So
yeah, Renteria coach. He managed just about the worst postseason game I've ever seen in Game 3 with the White Sox. Like, they started Dane Dunning and they took him out after like 4 batters, and then what's his name, Garrett Crochet came into the game and then instantly hurt himself. Like obviously that was out of Renteria's control, but just down the line, just using all those arms, like they used like I think 9 arms or something after Dunning in an 8 inning, or they only pitched 8 innings that game because it was in Oakland.
Yeah, that was brutal.
I don't know. It was so poorly managed, and I was just thinking like of the potential the White Sox could have had. They could have beat the A's in that series with a better manager, I think. So definitely a good move by them.
Mitch had him going. We did our playoff picks last week, and Mitch had him going all the way.
I know.
Did you have him winning too?
No, I had him losing to the Braves, which is looking like a really good pick still for me. But I'm really big on just their energy, their culture, their vibe to it, and their talent. Like, even though a lot of them are still young, they're just talented as can be. And it would be really interesting to see, like you said, with a different manager, maybe a couple less injuries. If Crochet doesn't get hurt in that situation, if Eloy Jimenez isn't banged up and has to come out early, it's really interesting to see how far they might have gone. But I mean, a lot of times too, you get arms that are so used to and so stuck into a role that they're used to. Maybe Crochet coming in early in the game didn't let his arm warm up properly, or it didn't give it enough rest between his warm-ups and his re-warm-up or whatever, and his own kind of stuff. So it's really tough to tell a dude that's going to be at the end of the game normally to say, hey, you're coming in the second inning. I mean, of course, we all know the legend of big, tall Randy Johnson coming in and closing a game and all that kind of stuff. And so you can make the case that, well, you guys did it then and you loved it. It's a little bit different in the case of being able to come in as a starter and just throw an inning rather than looking at possibly being a long relief guy when you're normally like a closer and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
But I definitely think a new managerial staff and a new kind of strategy and everything coming in could really benefit. I mean, I would love to step, if I was a manager that was on the free agent market, I would love to step into a Chicago White Sox role. Like,
that'd be who wouldn't? Yeah. That'd be the dream for anyone. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, boys. Well, we can start to wrap this up, but I want to hear your super, super early predictions for the Mariners season next year.
Are we assuming a full season, or are we going?
We're assuming full season. Okay, We're assuming full season.
Fans and stands, right? We're in T-Mobile Park.
At least 25%.
Yeah. Well, if I'm in T-Mobile Park, it's a dub.
Did you guys see the socially distanced fans for the Dodgers Braves?
I saw that. Yeah.
It's pretty cool actually, just seeing fans in the park again. Because like, I don't know about you guys, but I just think that just seeing like fans go after like a home run ball is just like you can have fans in like football and whatnot, but just like, I don't know, seeing them chase after the ball and just hearing like the "Let's Go Dodgers" like that.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's surreal.
And to me, it sounded like there were more Braves fans there, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to it.
It might travel a little bit. Like for me, if the Mariners were in the playoffs right now and we went somewhere and they announced that there was a
I'd be there.
chance of a 25. Oh, definitely.
I'd be there.
I'm figuring out
Yeah.
whatever way I have to get there. I don't care if I have to hitchhike and Uber all the way there because I can't get an airplane ticket. Like, I'm there.
For sure.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Go for it, Peter.
Okay. So 162 game season. I'm gonna say we win between 76 and 79 games next year. I don't think we're quite a 500 team yet. I think we definitely showed flashes of that, but I just think over a full season, just maintaining that consistency, there's still, our lineup does look really strong, but unless we sign like 3 or 4 really high quality bullpen arms, I don't think we're going to get to 80 wins just because a bullpen is such a huge part of a major league roster. In 2020, 2021, you see the Mariners last year with guys like Yohan Ramirez, like obviously showing a ton of promise, but then you see guys like Brady Leo coming out of the bullpen and guys that just Walker Lockett, Seth Frankoff, guys that you just know are going to get shelled right off the bat. You just can't have those guys in your bullpen if you want to win. If you want to reach that 500 mark, you need to have guys that come in, can get out. Just guys like you see on the A's. Like, they don't have to be anything special, but guys like Jake Diekman, Joaquin Soria, Yusmeiro Petit. You need guys like that. The Mariners didn't have that, and that's why they finished 27-33. They definitely showed flashes in the lineup. I don't think the lineup really has any holes at this point. Like, I think it's pretty much good to go, but definitely additions in the bullpen are necessary if they want to get over that hump.
For sure. I'm gonna be a little bit optimistic here and hope that our starting pitching really thrives and we don't have to rely on the bullpen as much. I think we're going to be right around that 500 mark also, but I'm going to give us like maybe a game or two over 500 and really be hopeful for that. I think that our lineup is just good enough to be able to score a bunch of runs in some games where we're just like, I'm hoping that we're going to get like 25% of the games we can jump up early and be able to let things relax and be able to let us ride our starter a little bit longer and all that kind of stuff. But where we sit right now, I can see us right around that 500 range, and I'm hoping in the positive side of the 500 range. But like you talked about, we go and sign those 3-4 arms, reliable arms, and then maybe even one big splash arm like a Liam Hendriks that we've talked about. I think that pushes us beyond 500. If we can get to a spot and it soothes all of our Mariners souls. Like when we get to sit here and watch a call to the bullpen brought to you by Root Sports, and we get to be able to relax. Like, oh yes, like this guy's coming in, or Liam Hendriks coming in, or
Yeah.
or possibly maybe by midseason a Johan Ramirez that's really figured it out and is locked down, all that kind of stuff. An Anthony Misowicz who is really deadly from the left side and figures out how to throw to right-handed batters too. Or like we talked about the couple big splashes that maybe we can make in the bullpen, like we had like 2017 when we had Colomé and Diaz at the end of it, and you had all those arms who, like you talked about with the A's, they weren't huge names, but they were just reliable. Like we knew what we were going to get from them and all that stuff. I just don't want to see a whole lot of no names come out of the bullpen again this year. Like I don't want to have to be Googling people's names when we get the call to the bullpen too much.
That's the thing, yeah. So I'm with you guys. I like them around that 79, 83 win game mark. I don't think there's a hole in the lineup. I think 1 through 9, especially next year. Maybe even if we have Kelenic in there, getting back Tom Murphy too. We haven't really talked about that. That's huge to go along with Torrens. That lineup stacked, and the pitching looks so like promising this year. I think they're going to take the next step. And then so if we get those ballpoint arms that we were talking about, I think that gives a better chance of maybe get up to that 85, 86 win mark and be competing for the second wild card.
Yeah, I would. Oh, man,
Yeah.
I would love to compete for that.
It's going to be huge too if they retain this 8-team playoff schedule.
Ooh.
I think they might.
Yeah.
I think they might cut it down to. I was reading a Lookout Landing article where they said they're probably going to cut it back down to like 6.
I think 6 would be good. Yeah.
Even 6. Like
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know if 8 is sustainable, but I don't know. Either way,
Yeah.
more playoff teams, better chance to make it in. Maybe only like 84 or 85 wins to get in versus like the 90 some it's been the last couple of years before 2020.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Well, that about wraps it up. Peter, thanks so much for coming on with us, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a blast to talk about the Mariners with guys that know their stuff.
Yeah. We passed. Yeah. And make sure you guys go follow Mariners Center on Instagram, please. Great account. You guys would love it. All Mariner fans would love it. So go give that a follow if you guys haven't yet. And yeah, it's about Mitch.
Definitely.
Sign us off.
Oh, for sure. I saw it. You guys didn't see it, but right before we went live, Peter buckled up, so don't worry, we've all been writing correctly. But we'd like to thank all of our viewers, and Peter, obviously, thank you today for being able to join us on the interstate and taking this exit with us.
Thanks, guys.
Like we said, we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's what I like to see.